everyone, Nishka here from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another fun beading tutorial for you. Before I get started, go ahead and check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you always know when we're posting new content. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be making the companion earring to this one that I have made using some really fun hexagon shaped links that we have. We have these cute little ones as well as these bigger ones, and I will show you how to bead around them both on the outside as well as on the inside and connect the two to create this super fun, very summery, mod inspired earring pair that I am calling the Hexagon Heatwave Earrings, because we are in a heat wave right now where I am, and I think it's just really fun summer design, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with these links, so I'll show you how to get started, and then you can let your imagination run wild with different colors, different designs, you name it. So let's go over all of the things that we need to make a pair of these, and then we will get started. Okay, so to complete this project and make the Hexagon Heatwave earrings, you're going to need some 11/0 seed beads. I chose to use two different colors, but you don't have to. And I'm going with this really nice, lustrous coated, orangey, red-orange kind of color here, and contrasting that with this really, really saturated yellow in a matte finish. And I think that really evokes summer and heat for me. So those are the colors I picked for my project. You'll also need a size 8/0 seed bead, and you'll need 10 of these per pair. And you'll also need a size 15 seed bead, and you'll need 10 of those per pair as well. I chose to go with gold because these are the accents that match the findings, but you can of course choose any colors that you like. They don't have to match, they can be all different. And finally, you're going to need a pair of the large hexagon links and a pair of the small hexagon links, as well as a pair of ear wires. Additionally, you want to have your thread snip handy, as well as a flat nose plier, and you're going to be using 4-pound Fireline in crystal. That's the color that I want to use because it's less visible when the thread is showing, especially around the links. And finally, I'm going to be using a size 12 beading needle to do all of my bead weaving. So let's get started. Okay, so I have threaded about a wingspan to 3/4 of a wingspan of Fireline onto my needle, and we're going to start by beading on the outside of the small link. So I'm going to pick up my first bead, and I'm going to set it up so that it's going to sit on the outside of my link. And as you can see, my needle is going to go under and then through. And I'm going to just hold everything tightly as I pass the thread through until I have a comfortable tail that I want to work with. The next step, I'm going to take my needle and go back through that bead again. And again, I want to hold everything nice and tight here because it is not yet secured. And don't pull too hard because you get your tail through as well. Make sure you're holding on to that tail. You can wrap it around your finger if it's long enough and to give you enough tension. Right now, it doesn't really matter where it's sitting. Next, we will add our next bead. I like to let that bead slide all the way down my thread, and then we are going to have that bead sit next to its friend, which means we're going to go under the link and up back through the bead we just added. And again, it's okay if everything's a bit loosey-goosey right now. Just make sure you're holding it all tight so you don't unravel everything as you're working on it. And next, we'll pick up our next bead. And do the same. Okay, so let's do that again. We're going to pick up one bead, slide it all the way down to your link. Bring your needle through the link. Sometimes you can get the bead and the needle through at the same time, but if you don't, especially with a small link like this, don't worry about it. Just bring your needle through first and then bring it through the bead. It's the same thing and less frustrating. And let's do one more. Pull it all the way down, needle through. Try not to poke yourself. So needle is through, and then you can bring your needle through your bead. At this point, you don't have to hold anymore here. You've done enough weaving that your beads are going to sit nicely and you're not going to worry about unraveling anything. It's only the first like 2 beads that you really want to hold on to your tail. So I'm going to keep going the same way as I've been going, and I'm going to head here to this corner with this color. So I'm doing 3 sides of this color and then 3 sides of the other color. So I'll meet you when it's time to switch colors. Okay, so we're halfway around. As you can see, it's about 3 beads per side. So that can help you figure out how many you need if you have just a tiny bit. So next we are going to start with our next color. And again, to make it quicker, you can just go right through the link as you're adding on that next bead and then head back up through it. So what we were doing before was just putting the bead close to the edge and bringing the needle through. This is the same technique, it's just doing the steps in an opposite order. And there's no difference in how things look. It's just a different way to do the same thing. So if you prefer the first way we were doing, keep doing that. And this is just a different way to do the same thing. And for some people, this might be easier than the first way. And I don't mean to be confusing to switch back and forth. I'm trying to demonstrate that there are multiple ways to do the same thing. And you can do one way or the other, and you can switch back and forth depending on how you feel, and you will still get the same look. And so as we switched colors, we're just continuing to do what we've been doing all along, is stitching these beads right on the outside of our link. Where's that thread? There it is. Isn't that cute? I mean, you could stop with just half done or just 1 row of beads around. I think it looks really, really cute either way. I'm going to keep going and I will show you what we do when we get to the end. Okay, I've just added my final yellow seed bead, and we are right here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go through the first bead in order to connect the two. And we're done with our first row. And like I said, I think this looks super cute. You can just pop an ear wire onto this and be done. But that's not what we're doing today. So I'm going to go under and through the link and head back up that first bead on the other side. And now we're ready for our second row. So the way this design works is that we're going to now do a row of yellow on top of the orange. So I'm going to pick up a yellow seed bead, and then I am going to stitch underneath the stitch that's in between these two beads. So we're going to go like this. And then we're going to go back up through that bead I just added. And see how it sits nicely like this. And we're going to continue. So again, next, I pick up a bead, I go in between underneath the thread in between the two beads, right below it, and back up that same bead. So the beads will be shifted just a tad. They're going to sit in the middle because it's a brick stitch. So you'll see they're going to sit right above the gap between the lower level of beads. And we're going to continue this all the way around. And then when we get to the other side, I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the gap that's going to appear here. So let's continue with our yellows until we get to the last thread connecting the two last orange beads. And I'll meet you back there. Okay, so we've made it around and we have our second row. It's normal for there to be bigger gaps in the second row than in your first row. The beads are staying the same, but the distance between them is getting bigger as you go further out. It's one reason why I chose to do the lighter thread, even though it's a little harder for you to see. So you can just see how it kind of disappears when you use it. Okay, so we're here. We have this tricky little situation. Because this is brick stitch and you are moving slightly one over, but you want to maintain this two-tone design, putting one or the other color here would kind of ruin that. So what I did is this is the place where I am going to add a larger gold seed bead. So here we're adding our 8/0s. And we're doing it exactly the same as before. So this thread that's in between the two colors is where you're going to throw in this gold bead. And you're going to go back up through it just the same to help nestle that in properly and have it sit there and hold everything nice and tight. So now we are going to go back to the 11/0 seed beads, and this time we will pick up our orange and finish out this whole side with orange. And again, on the other side where you have the transition on the bottom between the yellow and the orange. On this stitch, you will add another one of the size 8 seed beads. So I'm going to continue, and I'll meet you guys on the other side where I'll tell you what we do next. And tighten it nicely without warping it too much. And then we're going to bring that down through this next bead over, because we want to get back to the gold bead. We're going to go underneath the link. I'm just going to bring my needle all the way through. It's hard to deal with this needle and this tiny little link, right? And then we're going to head back up this first bead and then back up the gold bead. And that's where we are coming out of to start our next part of our project. So our top is more or less finished. We are going to now start the next section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to grab my next link, and I'm going to go right through this guy and back through those beads. I'm going to go and do that turnaround 2 more times to secure this nicely, and then we will get started when I'm coming out of here. Okay, so now my thread is coming out underneath the bottom link, and I'm going to pick up a bead. I already picked up a bead. I'm going to bring it down, and then I am going to thread through this bead on the front side of the link, and you just want to help it nestle in close to your starting point so there isn't too much thread visible. And next we are going to pick up our next bead, go underneath, and through. And you can bring it closer together and finish there like that. And we're just going to keep going until we've done half of the bottom hexagon. So we're going to do orange on these 3 sides and then come back up and do yellow. Okay, so we've made it all the way around with our 2 colors, looking great. This is a perfect place to stop if you are tired of beading. But we are going to continue with the second row to match the double row we did up here. So I am coming out of, where am I? Let's see. I have just finished that connection between the last 2 beads, so I am actually heading away from where I want to be. So I am going to head back up that first orange bead on the back side. And we are going to do that same brick stitch that we did earlier. And again, we're doing the two-tone thing, so I'm picking up a yellow bead now. Okay, so I have actually stopped before the last stitch connecting the last two orange beads, because we are going to add that gold bead in here. It's big enough to take up all of this space. And we are going to connect it exactly in the middle underneath this stitch between the orange and the yellow. You can try to get under the stitch first and then through the bead if that's easier, which I found to be easier for me here. And you see how it sits right there in the middle and takes up the extra space without too much crowding, which is what would happen if we tried to do all of our beads in there. And next we will continue with our orange. And at the top up here again, we will do the same thing as down here. By adding this gold bead, it helps prevent crowding up at the top. Okay, so here we are, all completed. We made it back around, added that gold bead in there, and I am coming now out of one of these orange beads at the top. So the final step, and you can either travel with your thread if you have enough thread and you don't want to go through the hassle of threading some knots, cutting this one off, and starting again with knots at the top. You can travel all the way up because this is all connected. Or because I have very little thread left, I'm going to just cut this one off. I've already made a few little knots in here, so I don't need to worry about unraveling. And then I'm going to start a new thread up at the top to make a seed bead loop in order to add my ear wire. And this is where your 15-0s will come in. Okay, so the final piece, make sure your thread is coming out the very top where your gold bead is. And I'm going to put 7, since it's hexagons, I feel like 7 is a good number. 7 15-0 seed beads for the beaded loop. Okay, I've got 7. And then I'm just going to head back down that same bead to create my loop. And then I am going to reinforce that loop a few more times. And I'd like to do this, this pass through at least 3 times so that everything holds nicely together. So you will do one more pass with your fire line, and then you want to tie some knots and finish off your thread, and then we will add the final touch. So finally, you take your ear wire and you're going to open that up. Just shimmy it a little to the side. And you want to take a look at your finished earring and decide which side you prefer. There will be one side that seems to a little bit cleaner, that might have a few less threads showing, so you can just decide which side you want to be your front before you put that ear wire on. Close that up, nice and secure, and there you have it. Your beautiful Hexagon Heatwave earring. So thanks for joining me. I hope you really like this tutorial. I think it's a lot of fun, and there are a lot of different ways that you can make this look by choosing different colors, different beads, different even links. We have them in lots of shapes and sizes. You can connect multiples, you can just do a single one. I made this tiny little dainty version earlier here, which is also super cute for an earring. So you can really have a lot of fun with this and enjoy using these really cool links. It adds a little something, I think, to the design. So I really want to see what you guys come up with. Make sure to check out our Facebook group, the Beaders Nook. You can join and show off all of your designs. We really, really like to see it. And yeah, so make sure to head on over to eurekacrystalbeads.com for all of the supplies that you need for this tutorial and so much more. Thanks for joining me. Bye.